What if I told you that Max Verstappen, the four-time world champion, might actually be faster in his team's sister car? What if the data suggests that Red Bull's billion-dollar operation is being outpaced by their own junior squad? And what if Fernando Alonso's recent statement about Verstappen fighting for championships in racing bulls isn't just paddock gossip, but a brutal truth that Red Bull desperately wants to hide? These aren't wild theories. The evidence is mounting, and after what happened at Zandvoort, the Formula One world is asking uncomfortable questions that could reshape everything we thought we knew about the Red Bull empire. Let's start with the facts. At Zandvoort, Racing Bulls achieved something that sent shockwaves through the paddock. Both cars in Q3, and Hajar claiming his maiden podium with a performance so dominant it left seasoned analysts speechless. But here's what makes this truly explosive. According to multiple sources tracking the weekend's data, this wasn't a fluke. The pattern is undeniable. Liam Lawson has scored points in 3 of the last 6 races, and that would have been 4 if not for the incident with Sainz. Meanwhile, Yuki Tsunoda's trajectory tells an even more damning story. He was consistently in the top 6 while driving for Racing Bulls at the start of the season, then suddenly found himself knocked out in Q1 the moment he moved to Red Bull. But the most revealing evidence comes directly from Max Verstappen himself. After Zandvoort, he made a statement that should terrify Red Bull's technical team. "Our car is just not quick enough. I also have to save a lot in the quick corners, while the other teams can go much quicker through T7 and T8. And I still have no grip. The entire race, I was more so on pace with our sister team. That should not be." Those words from a 4-time world champion aren't just frustration. They're a technical verdict that exposes Red Bull's fundamental problem. Now, you might think this is simply about Racing Bulls improving their development. After all, sister teams often close gaps over time. Laurent Mekies, Red Bull's current team principal, tried to downplay the situation by explaining that the cars have different development paths and philosophies, making direct comparisons difficult. But here's where this gets really interesting, and why you need to stick around, because what I'm about to reveal changes everything. The Constructors' Championship tells one story. Red Bull sits 4th, while Racing Bulls languishes in 7th. But strip away the early season struggles and poor strategic calls that cost Racing Bulls points, and a different picture emerges. The raw performance data suggests these teams are now essentially equal on pure pace. Fernando Alonso, a 2-time world champion who knows championship-winning machinery when he sees it, dropped a bombshell that cuts through all the diplomatic language. According to reports covering his recent interviews, Alonso stated, "The Racing Bulls always have pace. If Verstappen were in that car, he'd fight for the championship." We saw it at the start of the year with Tsunoda, who was always in the top 6 and then was suddenly out in Q1 at Red Bull. This isn't just paddock speculation. It's an expert assessment from someone who's driven for multiple top teams. But the evidence doesn't stop there. The numbers are brutal for Red Bull. Since the driver shuffle, Tsunoda has managed just 9 points in Red Bull colors. Meanwhile, Lawson sits at 20 points, and Hajar has accumulated 37. These aren't marginal differences. They represent a systematic pattern that suggests the Racing Bulls car is fundamentally easier to drive and extract performance from. Even more damning is Verstappen's admission about being matched by Racing Bulls throughout the Zandvoort race. For context, this is the same driver who has dominated Formula One for years, now openly stating that Hajar was running just 2 seconds behind him for the entire race distance. That's not a gap that should exist between a 4-time world champion and a driver on his maiden podium, unless the machinery is telling a very different story. Here's what makes this situation explosive for Red Bull's future. The technical departures that followed Adrian Newey's exit, including key figures like Wheatley and Courtney, have left the team scrambling to understand their own car. According to sources familiar with the situation, Helmut Marko publicly stated that Christian Horner's departure was performance-based, not political. This institutional knowledge vacuum couldn't have come at a worse time. The 2026 regulations are looming, and Red Bull is developing their own power unit for the first time in this era. If they can't solve their current car philosophy problems, how can they be expected to nail the new regulations? The stakes become even higher when you consider Verstappen's contract situation. While he's committed to Red Bull through the first year of the new regulations, sources suggest that's where the guaranteed commitment ends. If 2026 doesn't deliver a competitive package, every conversation about his future becomes more complex. The Racing Bulls situation provides a perfect case study. If their sister team can produce a more drivable, more consistent car with a smaller budget and less resources, what does that say about Red Bull's technical direction? It's exactly the kind of evidence that could influence a champion's decision about where to spend the prime years of his career. This brings us to the questions that could define the rest of this season and beyond. If Racing Bulls continues to match or exceed Red Bull's pace, how long before Verstappen seriously considers the nuclear option of actually switching teams mid-season? He's not fighting for a championship this year anyway. So, why not test the theory? And here's the bigger question. If Racing Bulls can produce this level of performance now, what happens when they get a full season to refine their philosophy while Red Bull continues struggling with their concept? Could we actually see the sister team outperforming the parent company in the Constructors' Championship? The evidence is mounting, the performances are undeniable, and even the champions are talking. This isn't just about one weekend in Zandvoort. It's about a fundamental shift in Formula One's power structure that could rewrite everything we thought we knew about the Red Bull empire. What do you think? Is this the beginning of the end for Red Bull's dominance, or can they solve their technical puzzle before it's too late? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more Formula One analysis that cuts through the noise.